G'day, Sam. Elliott at News Talk ZB back home. What's been the main focus in camp this week as you head into the third Bledisloe? Is it capturing it this weekend and not letting it go to a game 4?
Yeah, for sure. Look, we've come in pretty excited. We know we've took the first step to reclaiming the Bledisloe last week, and this week's the sole focus has been on tomorrow night. We haven't looked any further than that.
Ian has said a couple of times that the Eden Park game was a sort of benchmark for what he wants out of the team. Do you agree? And has that been something that you've tried to drill in this week?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's a line in the sand where we know we can perform, and hopefully another week under our belt of training will make some improvements on that performance.
You're packing down with Hoskins Tutu this week, his first start in an All Blacks jersey. What have you noticed about him in the 2 games he's played thus far, and what do you want out of him as a starting All Black for the first time tomorrow?
Yeah, look, Hoskins, he's really impressed me, to be honest, in the conversations and rugby chats that we've had. I think he's a very intelligent rugby player, and he's someone who sees the game really well. Look, his stints that he's had off the bench, his work rate's been massive. I think he's made a huge amount of tackles in that time, and sort of found his feet in the first couple of games. He's fitted in quite seamlessly, so pretty exciting to see what Hoss can do. It's a shame Artie's not over here, but it's an exciting opportunity for Hoss for sure.
Just final one from me. You've been to Australia a few times. Has this been different around the things you're allowed to do, allowed not to do? What kind of protocols you might have to go through tomorrow night ahead of the game?
Yeah, a few little different things, but look, to be honest, it's been pretty seamless. I suppose some of the things that we're having to do we've experienced back in New Zealand anyway under the different levels, so boys are pretty relaxed about them and just taking it as it comes.
Thanks.
Sam, hey, Mark Hinton here. You're playing the same team 4 times in succession is pretty unique in the modern game, it's fair to say, and you're about to play the Wallabies for the 3rd time on the bounce. Is this a series all about adjustments? I mean, you hear them talking about that in American sports where they play these 7-game series and that, and talk about the importance of adjustments. Can you just talk to that, about the importance of adjustments through this series, and particularly on Saturday night?
Yeah, it is pretty unique. Look, it was nice to have the week rugby free last week to sort of, feels like we've come in and reset now. I think what we'll see is that when you talk about adjustments, it's the adjustments you'll make from week to week, the improvements that you can make in your game, and the improvements the opposition can make, and it's pretty much like a battle of who can get better the quickest. So, obviously the first one was pretty tight. I thought we were heaps better that second game, and I think the Aussies would probably admit they weren't quite as sharp as they were. So, yeah, it'll be all on the line tomorrow. Looking forward to it.
So, in terms of those adjustments, do you have to expect the Wallabies, they missed 40 tackles on Eden Park. Do you have to expect they're going to be a lot better in that area, and so you're going to have to find other ways to breach?
Yeah, look, it wouldn't surprise me if they've been doing a wee bit of tackling practice. Everyone knows your defence has got to be good to win test matches. So, look, we're still confident if we can hold on to the ball. We can force them to make a lot of tackles and hopefully miss a few too. So it'll be, it's a bit of a cliche, but test matches are about building pressure with and without the ball, really.
Sam, Luke Robinson here from News Hub, obviously in New Zealand, mate. How's it going?
Yeah, good, thanks, Luke.
Obviously, a lot's been spoken about you guys going over and playing 2 tests over there, potentially, obviously giving Aussie a home advantage for those games. Is much said about that, especially with the fact that the Cup is still on the line?
Look, we've alluded to that our record in Australia probably isn't as good as what it is in New Zealand. So there's no hiding from that. Like Australia is a tough place to play, and they've got a pretty good record, and it's a bit of a unique situation, particularly in my time in the All Blacks. With the way the schedule's worked out, it's always been test matches in Aussie first, followed by New Zealand. So when it comes to the Bledisloe and sort of the crunch games they've been on New Zealand soil. So yeah, it's the shoe sort of on the other foot here this weekend, but we're pretty excited by that challenge, and yeah, like I've said, we're looking forward to it.
They've got a couple of debutants in their backline and 10 and 12, positions that they've been pretty solid at. Is that somewhere you guys see as a potential weakness for them potentially on defence?
Look, to be honest, not really. I think anyone who chucks that Wallabies jersey on, they'll be going out there to put their best foot forward, and they're quality young footballers. And geez, I think of most people who make a debut, they're going out there, and you think about it, most people who debut have a pretty good game, because it's sort of the realisation of a dream. So look, we'll certainly be like any test match, looking to put pressure on the guys that drive them around the park. Aussie have been using sort of two playmakers in 10 and 12, so not a lot will change from our point of view. We want to put them under pressure.
Just lastly from me, obviously the Kiwi players have been playing in front of crowds for a while now, but it's been a while since, it's been since pre-COVID where we played overseas with a crowd as well. What are you expecting from, I think they're allowed 40,000 there tomorrow?
Yeah, look, whenever we play in Aussie, we tend to get a wee bit of Kiwi support. All the Kiwis come out that live over here, so hopefully, no doubt it'll be majority Australians, but the Kiwis that do turn up, it'll be awesome if they can find their voices.
Sam, just a quick one. Martin Parrish from AFP. I think Ian said yesterday that it's been something like 11 years since you guys have won the Bledisloe on Australian soil. I mean, how special would it be actually to do that in Sydney on Saturday?
Oh, it'd be awesome, mate. It'd be pretty wicked to be able to hold that trophy up, but we know it'll be a heck of a challenge. We're going to have to dig pretty deep to get there, so look, not sort of spending too much energy or time focusing on the end result, more I suppose focus on the process of how we can go about getting there.
Hey Sam, Alex McLeod here from Rugby Pass. You sort of spoken about how difficult it is, how your record, the All Blacks record, I suppose, playing in Australia, how it's not as good as you'd perhaps like it to be. What is it about playing in Australia that's so tough for you guys compared to playing back in New Zealand against the Wallabies?
Yeah, look, I'm not 100% sure. I suppose it's one of those things that you look at any team who plays on home soil compared to away. The records normally are in favour of those teams that are at home. It might be some of the normalities of being at home, or home crowd. I'm not sure. All those little things, they probably add up, and when it comes down to sort of high performance sport, it's only small margins, and they might influence it. I'm not too sure, but we'll be doing our best to make sure it doesn't happen.
Cheers, mate.
G'day Sam, Justin Chadwick here from AAP. How much does it play in your mind what happened in Perth last year? How much have you guys been talking about that result and what you need to do to avoid a similar result there?
Look, when we played them in Wellington, us that played in that test against Perth, that was still pretty fresh in the mind, but since then, it's well over a year ago now. There's not much time us spending energy focusing on that. We've had 2 tests in the last 3 weeks against them, so we've taken lessons from each of those games, and we've tried to improve from 1 to 2, which I think we did, and again we'll be looking to improve from 2 to 3. So that was a wee while ago now, and it still hurts when you bring it up, but it hasn't been spoken about.
And we touched on the Wallabies 10-12 combination. Is there anything that you guys can do to try to unsettle them, whether that's a bit of chatter, a few hard hits or anything like that?
Look, mate, the best way to unsettle them would be us as a forward pack do quality job at set piece, disrupting their ball, us getting set, getting off the line and taking away their time and space.
I'm just checking if there's any late injury worries or everything's looking okay.
No, I think everyone, we're had our first sort of fine day yesterday, and we trained in the sun, which was nice, and everyone got through really good. So we're off to captain's run after this, but no, everyone's in good shape.
Sam, it's Greg from Reuters. You're typically quite a level-headed kind of guy, but what is it when you sort of give your final team chat? Do you sort of go all Incredible Hulk on everyone and, rip shit and bust, kind of follow me over the trenches, boys? Or how do you sort of approach that talk?
You'll only find out, Greg, if you get to stand in the huddle one day.
That's not going to happen.
Look, might depend a little bit on the situation or how we're feeling, but I think I said before, like test matches and big games, I find it's so much about staying focused, task to task, just trying to dominate each task and do it the best of your ability for the full 80 minutes. And I think if we do that as a team, then more often than not we get the result. But yeah, I can spark up sometimes when it's needed.
What do you mean spark up? Does that mean sort of get into individual spaces, or is it the whole team?
I don't know, the whole team probably.
Thanks, Dutch. Any last questions? We'll wrap up there. One or two more.
Sam, can I just ask, what did you learn from Eden Park about, I guess, this team being, every year it's a different team. So this team started out this season. What did you learn from Eden Park about, I guess, this group playing somewhere near its best?
Look, I think the first 40 minutes was a real arm wrestle, like a typical test match, and there's a few opportunities that both teams could have taken, but didn't quite nail, which would have changed the half-time score. And then I think we had probably like a 15 to 20-minute spell after half-time where we pretty much just nailed our jobs. We had no errors really, and we just executed. And when we did that, we looked really good. And the last 20 minutes, we sort of, didn't quite nail things like we had that previous 20. So I suppose what I learnt was how good we can be when we get those things right. And our challenge is to be able to execute and do those things under pressure more often than not.
Thanks, Sam.